My Heavenly Father's children, the time has come for judgment. Armageddon. False prophets never blended, for we are revelation angels descending from our sins. No need to pretend. Who provided me oxygen? I love since I began. Praying you wash away my sins. Babylon the Great has fallen. Offsprings of the wicked one crawling, fearing their day of their Lord's calling. Blessed be the seed of the Almighty. Destination of any others, burn eternally and waste the heat.
Tonight, we are a nation of extremes. The East is cleaning up after vicious storms knocked down trees, snapped power lines, and wrecked buildings. Folks were jolted out of bed by non-stop roaring thunder. In the West, at least 30 large wildfires are thriving on the long drought and relentless heat.
Residents stretching from Virginia to New Jersey say that last night's thunderstorms, like the one that took out this 150-foot tall oak tree, were extremely violent and very frightening. It was in the forecast as a thunderstorm, but what developed was a much larger weather system in which clusters of storms crashed together. In New Jersey, residents like Paul Marositz described rain and hail coming in sideways.
The wind was worse than Sandy. That's how loud it was.
In Washington, the storm created a spectacular light show, but also forced a group of Girl Scouts camping out at the White House to seek shelter in the executive office building.
This morning, nearly 500,000 people left in the dark.
I've never seen anything like this.
Overnight, intense lightning brightening dark skies across the country, hitting the John Hancock building in Chicago, and non-stop flashes in D.C.
Telephone poles snapped back and forth, unable to stand up to the winds battering western Illinois. Dark clouds collided with the sunset over Chicago's Wrigley Field, creating an orange-black sky. The volatile weather that soaked the roadways and made it nearly impossible to see in Illinois.
It spun up so quickly and disappeared so quickly that it was virtually undetectable ahead of time by radar.
Huge wildfires are raging from Alaska to California, forcing thousands of evacuations. It is not only threatening homes and businesses, it is destroying them.
One person described the speed of the fire as mind-blowing.
The massive Sleepy Hollow wildfire, fueled by strong winds and scorching heat, burned through the canyons and hills of central Washington state, destroying 24 homes and forcing thousands to evacuate.
Oh my God, this power is so impressive. Big orange glow, kind of a fireball, and a lot of black smoke billowing.
Fires are increasing daily throughout the West and Alaska, with high temperatures building
and is right after the Bilderberg group, Cern. Cern was going on at Switzerland, Blake, and it's all could be connected.
Orlando, tell us about Cern. What's going on in Switzerland? You know a little bit about this.
The energies have been increasing, and we're as close as to the God particle, so they say, as we've ever been. But the time frames that we're talking about these things are still so much theoretical that it's all still it's nearly the same discussion as it was, except at perhaps higher energetic levels.
I'm gonna play back this video, and I want to ask you honestly, the bullwhip lightning effect going on in this Haarp activity over Indianapolis, you can't explain this away. We've again spoken to meteorologists, and they're calling it a sundog, but they can't explain this optical image. To me, that doesn't make sense on both parts. What's a sundog? What's this bullwhip action going on? Orlando?
The only way I can characterize this is some type of prismatic refraction. It's the only thing I can even speculate. The only realm that I can even try to characterize this phenomenon in. And I mean, the one thing this reminds me of is things that I have seen on a much smaller scale. And that's what is even more intriguing and perplexing, is that this is not terribly unfamiliar, but it is, at the scale that I'm seeing it in, it really is unfamiliar.
Exactly, Orlando. You're talking about a prism, something that lights in through water. It almost does seem like when you throw on your garden hose and you're sprinkling water and you see the sun rays creating the rainbow. And maybe you do see these little refractions of light, but if this is something that's been going on since basically Earth's been around, why hasn't it been captured on film? This is the first time within weeks of this phenomenon, this weather culture that's going on this week. I think it's Haarp. I think there's some sort of weaponized weapon being implemented right now.
There's been rumor and chatter that we've got here at Third Phase of Moon, and I'd like to address that right now. Haarp has been discontinued. Well, that is old news, people. Of course it has been, as far as the public's concerned. But what's going on around the world now? Hold on a sec, guys.
Alaska, with high temperatures building and lightning strikes.
The nation came together to celebrate its independence over the weekend, but in Orlando, Mother Nature was providing her own show. Take a look at this. At this image captured by one visitor to the Magic Kingdom on Saturday, the lightning was fierce, and many other images just as awesome made their way onto Twitter over the weekend. That almost looks like
a Disney scene.
Yeah, it looks like it was man-made. It doesn't look like Mother Nature.
A night of fun at a water park turned into complete chaos for hundreds of people. You can see the explosion, then people running through the flames.
Around 1,000 people were dancing to a DJ at a water park when coloured theatrical powder that was being thrown from the stage accidentally ignited. Some had initially thought it was special effects and part of the display.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Show me now, whoa, whoa, whoa!
But amateur footage shows that within seconds, crowd members closest to the stage were engulfed in a massive fireball.
Whoa!
They ran to get away, but more than 500 suffered from burns, especially to their lower legs.
Everybody was running and pushing each other. We saw a lot of people whose skin had been seriously burned. It was just like hell.
The highest court in Oklahoma says the monument of the Ten Commandments needs to be removed from the Oklahoma Capitol grounds.
It has caused an uproar from the moment it was announced. A satanic statue slated to be unveiled in Detroit later this month.
But despite outrage from religious leaders, those plans are moving forward tonight. 7 Action News reporter Ross Jones is here now with this strange story.
Only word for it, strange. Good evening, ladies. Detroit has been through hell for all sorts of different reasons, from riots to bankruptcy. So maybe that's why one group says the Motor City is the perfect place to unveil a symbol of Satan.
Satanic symbol Baphomet. If you'd been at the Greater New Mount Moriah Baptist Church this morning.
This enemy that we're fighting is an invisible enemy, and it's going to take invisible weapons.
Everyone rejoice! No longer will we have to remember that credit card password consisting of random letters, numbers, and symbols. This new method of payment certainly falls in line with what MasterCard has developed for their customers in the past.
Now, Charles, this one is better for me than the fingerprints because I don't have any fingerprints.
You really don't? You were born like that?
Well, something happened.
Or the CIA thing. Okay, I mean,
something happened along the way, either from playing the violin a whole bunch, but that doesn't explain the right hand. But anyway, I don't have any fingerprints. Wow. So this face identification thing and the eye, the retina, I guess,
Sure.
is where they're heading, right?
It's all called biometrics. So the fingerprint is the easiest thing, and we're kind of used to that from iPhones and things like that. But the face, the eyes, the retina, all of that stuff is absolutely amazing. And
New details about a story that's had shoppers buzzing for months now. We got our hands on permits showing which stores are likely to call the new outlet mall in Wesley Chapel home.
You can see the Tampa premium outlets are closer to being completed right here. Yes, take a look. A massive piece of construction going on here.
All right, here is a crow that decides he wants to take a break from flying, so he hitches a ride on an eagle, Brad. Both birds were flying over Seebeck, Washington.
America! The sneaky little crow spotted a chance to take a break, so he jumped on the eagle's back. That's an American eagle, it looks like. A photographer caught the rare moment on the camera. The encounter lasted just a few seconds before the birds parted and went their separate ways.
What do you think that bald eagle's thinking? Get off my back.
Get off my back. Don't tread on me.
Bob was remarking in the break about what is making, if you happen to see the moon before the sun comes up and it was really kind of
red.
Big.
That moon looked blood red. I mean, that's a color of it right there. That's from Tennessee last night.
For investors here in the U.S.
A tech failure affecting 3 major U.S. organizations on Wednesday was not a coordinated cyber attack. That is what officials and security experts say this morning after a string of problems affecting millions of people. Technical glitches grounded dozens of United Airlines flights, shut down the New York Stock Exchange, and crashed the Wall Street Journal's website.
Wednesday was already shaping up to be a rough day here with the debt crisis in Greece and a market mess in China. But then this glitch happened.
Junction the past couple of nights. It peaked on Tuesday night, June 30th, but the stars are still, the planets I should say, are still very close together tonight.
There's excitement in the galaxy. As Jupiter and Venus move together, the planets will appear to merge in the night sky.
The convergence of these planets, called a conjunction, have dazzled mankind for thousands of years. In 2 BC, 2 planets were in near-perfect alignment.
That you couldn't see the difference of 2 objects in the sky. They look like a single bright object. And so that has been proposed as one explanation for the Star of Bethlehem.
There was a Supreme Court ruling that declared gay marriage a constitutional right last week, and now the UFC president Dana White has asked fighters to not invoke the name of Jesus during interviews. His comments come on the heels of middleweight Yoel Romero's post-fight interview last week.
What happened to you? Wake up, USA! Go back for you, go for Jesus!
Yet he still wants fighters to stop thanking Jesus publicly.
Cascade outwards and change the world. Those countless
often anonymous heroes. They deserve our thanks. They should be very proud. America should be very proud. Thank you.
The most vigorous opponent of Janet and Carol's marriage is the Catholic Church. Connecticut Roman Catholic Archbishop Leonard Blair issued a statement today saying in part that, quote, if the government can create a fiction of marriage, then what other realities and relationships will it claim the right to redefine, regulate, or create, as is already the case with human life itself?
Let's move into the political process in a new way. It's going to be an issue in the U.S. presidential election, in Congress, at the various legislatures, in terms of trying to amend the U.S. Constitution.
And that has been the fight in the Roe versus Wade abortion ruling, trying to get a constitutional amendment to flip the Supreme Court around. The Family Institute of Connecticut, Peter Wolfgang is executive director, is the other leading opponent of same-sex marriage in Connecticut. Live from the Hartford newsroom, Mark Davis, News 8.
Now, US President Barack Obama is calling for tighter gun controls, saying that for too long, Americans have ignored the results of gun violence.
For too long, we've been blind to the unique mayhem that gun violence inflicts upon this nation. The vast majority of Americans, the majority of gun owners, want to do something about this.
And yes, we all in time will come before the days of our last bread and wine. And yes, we all in time will come before the days of our last bread and wine. All in time, it's the end of the world, and still people ain't got no satisfaction. It's the end of the world, and still people ain't got no satisfaction. I'd rather be chilling in the casket than living in this madness. Feeling like a captive in prison, like a savage. Depression from oppression, meet they modern day.